Welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. For today's explainer, we're basically stepping into the shoes of chief engineers. We're taking all those scattered individual parts from our previous lessons and assembling them into the ultimate master blueprint of a Solana deployment strategy. If you really think about it, it's kind of like trying to build the world's most complex piece of IKEA furniture, but instead of a wobbly bookcase, you've got millions of dollars of Web3 value on the line. So let's get our tools ready and dive right in. Here is our engineering schematic for today. We'll cover the master blueprint, assembling the strategy, the executable runbook, mapping out roles and ownership, the readiness checklist, and finally, validating your deliverable.
All right, part 1, the master blueprint, gathering the scattered parts.
We're picking up right where we left off in documenting the deployment process. Right now, you've done a lot of great work, but your brilliant plans, they're kind of like loose screws, wooden dowels, and confusing instruction manuals just scattered all over the garage floor. We have your scope deployment plan, your ordered execution strategy, and your deployment documentation. We are not treating these as separate deliverables anymore. Nope. Think of them as the core components of this massive megazord you're about to build. You've got your objectives, your task sequencing, your decision logs. It's all there. Now we just got to connect them.
Section 2, assembling the strategy, bolting it all together.
So how do we actually bolt this stuff together? Well, the assembly workflow requires 3 strict steps. Step 1, you merge all your artifacts into one discrete file or repository. Step 2, you reconcile any conflicting details. Like, if your artifacts disagree, say you've got 2 entirely different people listed as the deployer, yeah, that's a problem. You have to pick the authoritative source. And step 3, you explicitly record that choice in your decision log. Because, as we always say, there's absolutely zero room for trust me bro engineering in Web3. Everything has to be logged and justified.
Moving right along to Section 3, the executable runbook, which needs to be way more than a bedtime story. Let's get into the mechanics here. Your runbook can't just be some static narrative bedtime story you casually read to the ops team while they sip their morning coffee. It has to be a highly specific executable set of commands. Take this bad command, for example. Check if node is up. I mean, what does up even mean in this context? How do you check it? Instead, you need an executable command that gives you the exact script, like a simple curl command to the RPC URL, and exactly what the expected output should be. Missing a clear executable command is just like forgetting a crucial screw in that IKEA bookshelf. Eventually, under the immense pressure of a live launch, the whole thing is literally gonna collapse.
Section 4, mapping roles and ownership. Who does what?
You know, in any complex process, if a task doesn't have a specific name explicitly attached to it, guess what? It simply won't get done. Ambiguity is the absolute enemy of execution. That's why an owner and role matrix is literally your best friend. It guarantees that every single execution task points to a named owner. So your pre-deploy validation, that belongs to the release engineer. Program deployment, that's the blockchain engineer. Post-deploy monitoring is on the on-call operator. They each explicitly acknowledge their responsibility and the acceptance criteria. Because remember the golden rule here, if everyone is responsible, absolutely no one is responsible.
Section 5, the readiness checklist, the final gate.
Before we even think about pushing this application to the Solana blockchain, we need a final validation gate so our rocket doesn't, explode on the launch pad. So what actually is a readiness checklist? Well, it's a single, actionable binary system. It either passes or it fails. There's no maybe, no we're almost there, and honestly the most crucial part, you have to attach tangible, auditable evidence to every single check. We're talking log files, CI run IDs, specific URLs. You absolutely cannot grade your own homework here. The evidence has to speak for itself.
Which brings us to Section 6, validating your deliverable. Is it ready for launch?
Okay, so you've bolted everything together. You mapped the roles, you wrote out those executable commands, but before you hand this final document off to the operations team, you really have to ask yourself, is this actually ready to fly? To confidently answer that, you're going to execute a structured checkpoint flow using 3 validation gates. First up, a self-audit. This is where you personally verify every pass/fail mark and its evidence. Next, a peer review, where you get a colleague to review your runbook command outputs and that readiness checklist. And finally, a dry run. This ensures your peers can not only read the rationale behind your decisions, but actually execute the verification commands safely. Actually, scratch that. They need to be able to run them flawlessly without needing you over their shoulder.
Let's wrap this up. Conclusion and key takeaways, the big 3.
As you finalize your Capstone deliverable, there are 3 absolute non-negotiable principles you've got to remember for this, and honestly, for every single future deployment you ever manage. 1, you must guarantee clearly mapped ownership for ultimate accountability. 2, you need testable acceptance criteria to just completely wipe out any ambiguity from the process. And 3, you must have evidence-linked readiness checks to fully close that operational loop. If you nail these 3, your master blueprint is going to be rock solid.
And here's the real beauty of all this. This document as a runbook approach sets you up perfectly for our next phase, which is deployment scripting and automation. Once you have a perfect, executable blueprint, turning it into automated code is just the natural next step. To dive deeper into deployment scripting and to explore a ton of other fascinating Web3 topics, make sure you head over to forge.college and continue your journey. But before you do, I want you to think about this. If your deployment was happening in exactly 5 minutes, would your master blueprint survive the launch, or would you be left scrambling on the floor for a missing screw? Think about it. I'll catch you in the next explainer.